Sure, abuti honestly.
From where the DA is sitting at this point with this ongoing fracas, a statement coming from the Democratic Alliance on plans that the DA is making now for tomorrow. You're opening criminal cases. Break that down for us.
Hello, Osnaledi. Thank you so much for having me, and good evening to your Newsroom Africa viewers. The point still maintains the DA is still the same DA as it was in the opposition benches as far as our steadfast commitment to fighting corruption to its teeth. As joining the government of national unity hasn't changed that brand of the DA, we haven't diluted ourselves as far as that brand is concerned. And it is on the basis of that one, we are laying criminal charges against Nobuhle Nkabane tomorrow, but not only lying to Parliament, but it constituting a case of fraud for giving misinformation to Parliament. But we're also saying that we do not trust her with the budget that she presides over, because not only when you give her the power to preside over 19 billion rands of seaters, that she decided to run a Christmas spree to give gifts to ANC cadres predominantly from her own deployment province KZN, but that even when you ask her to give you the facts on how she tried to apportion that 19 billion rands, she lies to your face in Parliament and lies to the Republic of South Africa. But also we know that NSFAS has been a mess since before she came in, and in a year she's taken office, she has not been able to correct it. If anything, her best strategy was to have another cadre deployment into NSFAS, its board and its CEO, to try to diffuse the situation. That hasn't helped. Students are still battling student accommodation problems. Students are still defunded without a course of clarity there. Students still have allowances still lagging behind. Students, as far as the application statuses and their funding statuses are concerned, are still lagging behind. And NSFAS's ICT system is still inaccessible for many South African students. So we know that she's not fit for purpose, and contrary to what she thinks, that she's the right person for that position, the Democratic Alliance and certainly the people of the Republic of South Africa are certain that she's not the best person for that job.
Okay.
But we're not going to give that budget, but the same principle applies with Thembisi Melane. If you can't trust Thembisi Melane with VBS money, how on earth do you then have the confidence to trust her with human settlements, a huge budget that is supposed to be building houses for the people of South Africa? If you can't trust David Mahlobo to come out of a state capture commission report unscathed and proven innocent, how do you then trust him to be in the Department of Water and Sanitation that is full of mafias in it, unscathed and able to use the people's money correctly?
Okay.
You can't.
All right, and just so and I will go back to the plans for tomorrow, but the point that you're making then, we'll take this and unpack it later. But ahead of the Higher Education Minister's budget debate in the NCOP, and I'm reading now from the words of the Democratic Alliance itself, the DA will be laying criminal charges against Minister Nobuhle Nkabane. We'll wait to watch how that unfolds. Before we move on and bring in our other panelists, Karaba, I want to bring this to you. The update: the Democratic Alliance still standing by the fact that you will not be part of the national dialogue?
100%, Osnaledi. If the ANC is unable to have at least a shared vision with its GNU partners within government, if they are unable to do so, you certainly cannot trust them to be able to go present anything tangible as a draft to the people of South Africa that can be used as at least a foundation for the feedback that we would need from the people of South Africa. If you are in-house unable to stabilize what it is that you want to do for South Africans, if you have shown yourself as the ANC to be unable to hold constructive conversations that build the country, you certainly cannot be trusted to go outside to the Republic and listen to them. The ANC has shown themselves that they don't know how to listen to anybody other than themselves. They're still under the illusion that they're governing alone. They do not understand that they're a 39% political party. They do not listen to reason. Even when the people of South Africa are making a clarion call to something as simple as get rid of Nobuhle Nkabane with immediate effect, even when their own SASCO ancillary structure tells them we do not want this minister who's responsible for us as students, get rid of her. They don't listen to that. How can you then trust the same ANC to go listen to the people of South Africa? The same people of South Africa who in the last 31 years, their cries their pleas have fallen flat to the ears of the ANC. The same ANC who, when the people of South Africa told them that they do not have money to pay more for bread and essential living, they thought it makes sense to continue to tax them further until the DA took them to court to push them into a corner to submerge.
Okay. Well, the argument that we've heard from the SG of the African National Congress is that the National Dialogue is not a program of the ANC. It is a program of government and various civil society organizations, one of which, of course, is the F.W. de Klerk Foundation, with many foundations like the Steve Biko Foundation, right? Now, they've responded. Ismail Juseb of the F.W. de Klerk Foundation says the National Dialogue isn't a government-led initiative. He says it's disappointing that the DA plans to boycott the event. Juseb accuses the party of failing to understand the importance of being part of such conversations. Let's quickly listen to what he had to say.
Well, we are disappointed with the Democratic Alliance for a number of reasons. I think the first reason is this. The F.W. de Klerk Foundation simply cannot understand the link between the axing of a deputy minister and the pulling out of a nationally significant moment like the National Dialogue. We don't get that. Secondly, we believe it's far better for any political party, perhaps the DA, to be inside the tent, as I said, playing a constructive role, making sure that the narrative is not dominated by any one political party. Now, the other thing about this, Koli, is we are disappointed in the DA by using the National Dialogue as a political football. I want to be clear. The National Dialogue is not a government-led initiative. It is inherently a people-led, citizen-led process.
Yeah, that's the view of the F.W. de Klerk Foundation on the DA pulling out of the upcoming National Dialogue. Let's bring in some of the other parties that are joining us on this panel. We have the Patriotic Alliance joining us, also a member of the Government of National Unity. Charles Cilliers, you're joining us. Charles, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, just as a member of GNU, you listen to what we're hearing from a DA, the pulling out of the National Dialogue, and then, the plan tomorrow to file criminal charges against the Higher Education Minister. What's the discussion about all this inside the Patriotic Alliance?
Yes, good evening, and good evening to the viewers. I think that our impression of all of this is that it is a lot of theatre from the DA, and they did shoot their bolt quite early with this very dramatic ultimatum that was sent, and then they had to do something, and everyone thought they were going to walk away. We were confident they wouldn't, because we feel like we're seeing the pattern of behavior from the DA. So we were wondering, what will they actually come up with to try to save face? So I guess they scratched around in their bag of tricks and came up with, oh, well, we won't be part of the National Dialogue, which is self-defeating. But they had to say something, didn't they? So now they're just making a bad situation even worse by saying that they're not going to be part of a dialogue that they signed up to when we signed the statement of intent. And, this really isn't constructive. To say that things are healthy in the GNU right now is obviously not the case. But you can see that the DA is wrestling with its own identity. They do take polls very seriously. And I think that there's been a bit of a panic in the DA ranks around polls that have said that they're losing some popularity among the voters whenever it looks as though they're being too soft on the ANC. So they're looking around for things to seem like they're being tough on the ANC.
Okay.
So I think we're looking at a party that really can't come to terms with how to be the DA of old that was in opposition with the DA that is now in government. And we really hope that they find themselves sooner rather than later, because they're bringing the country down with them.
Yeah, let's hear from Build One South Africa, Nobuntu Hlazo Webster, outside the Government of National Unity. You've been critical as a party of the GNU, but certainly with the passing of the fiscal framework, there was a sense that, well, was there an opportunity here for BOSA to find its way inside GNU? I don't know if that's what you're seeing at a time like this, for instance, but what do you make looking from the outside of GNU looking in?
Look, our position as Build One South Africa has always been that we do what's in the best interests of South Africans. And even now, we believe that this is actually what these parties should be doing, particularly as the two biggest parties in the GNU. I think one of the issues that we've always raised, and one of the reasons why we did not join the GNU right at the outset, was that forming a government of national unity without a governance plan, without a policy framework, and without any mechanisms for accountability except for a statement of intent, that was a mistake. The country needed, and actually even needs still now, a shared mandate amongst the parties with a clear set of priorities that the GNU partners have agreed on. How do we fix the economy? How do we fix issues like energy, fight corruption, fix education in the country, and a delivery plan around that? And it's very clear that that wasn't there. And so now what you find and what we're seeing, particularly now when you look at the briefing that took place from the DA in the weekend, is that ultimately it's South Africans that suffer when there is politicking that is happening at their expense, with the threat, for example, of budget votes. The idea that there could be a possibility that when the time comes on the 23rd of July for the appropriation bill to be voted on, that the DA could vote against that. The issue there becomes that you are putting housing at risk. You are putting delivery and healthcare at risk. It is South Africans, it is citizens that will suffer. And their reasons really are really political reasons, because all along the DA was going to work with the ANC in this regard. And this is just a response to the firing of a minister of the DA. And that really isn't what we need. We need proper leadership. At this moment, we need adults in the room and not politicking at the expense of South Africans.
Okay. The ATM, thank you for that. We appreciate your input. Zamajana of the African Transformation Movement. We did invite the EFF and the MK Party. Unfortunately, they were unable to join us. And it's interesting because, our senior politics reporter in that piece talks about how the DA would need support from the MK Party and the EFF to be able to, for instance, be successful in a motion of no confidence. What are the talks looking like in the Progressive Caucus as all of this plays out?
Thank you so much. Good evening to you and the panelists. For us as the African Transformation Movement, truly, it is truly hypocritical of the Democratic Alliance right now. From the word go, they knew who they were getting in bed with. That's number one. Two, they knew when the time had come for the appointment of ministers, or they had files on the ministers and they never objected. And not only that, it is only when there is an impression on one of their ministers that they are now ready to go out fighting. They could have boycotted the constitution of government. They could have boycotted many other instances. Even when they boycotted the 2% VAT increase, there was no undertone or line that included the ministers in that. So for us as the African Transformation Movement, we see it as highly hypocritical that the DA now, in fact, the DA, if you look at its track record, you would expect that any individual who did not get a mandate like this would actually be on the firing line, even if they belong to them. So what we expected as the African Transformation Movement is that instead of this retaliation, they would start with their own to the members of the ANC instead of absolving their own and want to actually say they are going to bargain with this system, with this particular situation by actually saying that we are going to save our own by saying fire those ones. So for us, highly hypocritical. They are not honest. If they are honest, they would start with their own and then they go to the members of the ANC.
Okay, Karabo, I know you've got so much to say because there's been so much.
It very much appears that the Democratic Alliance has become determined to stay as opposition, right? Because I do not have a problem with them taking the ANC to court, but double standards, being a part of a marriage and then fighting that marriage at every opportunity that you get, that becomes very, very weird, but then also very, very interesting. So you see that they're going to lay these charges with these ministers that they work with in Parliament. And only because of their deep sense of despise for the economic freedom fighters and the controls in the party. And they have no interest where they actually show that they want to actually be in this for the interest of South Africans. Well, we know that they use examples like benefit, making sure that the South Africans are saved from doomsday coalition, right? And them fighting for the things that they say they've been fighting for, mainly being things such as the tax, in which was a good fight. But still, within this, the ANC has showed that they can do things without considering them or without showing recognition or respect to the Democratic Alliance. But now the Democratic Alliance are continuing to actually fight this whole thing. And in fighting this, we are seeing that these two parties are at loggerheads at every turn. Where do you see the progress in this? ATM says that they knew exactly what they were putting themselves into. And I agree. They knew exactly that kind of devil they were getting into bed with, which is the African National Congress. But now they're trying to cry foul. And it's becoming very, very funny because we are seeing yet another one of those fits that the DA continue to throw, and at the long run yields nothing. It just yields nothing, right? So it's very, very interesting because they have either become a big fat joke, or they've just become incompetent and just like drama and appearing in, or should I say, appearing on TV, showing to continue to appeal to their constituents, whereas they're now being seen as having sold over. And this is real because a lot of the constituency has now started to believe that the Democratic Alliance has been swallowed in by the whole ANC thing and being in parliament, and it has now made them actually want to show to their constituents that they are still behind the cause. That could be one of the main reasons, to try and appeal to your own constituents, to try to make them believe that you are still the opposition that they once voted for. But is this actually working out for them, or is this actually making them out to appear like a joke? I like people like Karabo Kakao. They're strong individuals. They can speak in front of crowds. They can articulate themselves, and they can put down the points. But is the Democratic Alliance actually still relevant and in check with reality? Or are they becoming delusional by the day? Imagine the 48-hour ultimatum that they put forward to the president. And when that time comes, still no bite, but still a big fat bark. This national dialogue in the long run, well, we understand how they say it is of importance to the president, and they will be seeing it as something, as a stab in the gut of the president. To a certain point, you can agree with them, right? But also, are they not then selling their people, their constituents short because they need to be represented, and they are choosing to not go forward and represent their people the way that they should? I don't know about you patriots, but I would rather have my party go forward and represent me. Say that my people are not okay with 1, 2, 3. My people need 1, 2, 3. And these are some of the things that we believe should be taking us forward. But not taking part, then again goes and sells yourself short by being dramatic, saying that, oh, it's a shame wasting money. With or without you, the money will be spent. The money will be spent. But then yet again, we are seeing another one of those where things could really very much take a turn. especially if they want to take that motion of no confidence, which we don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see in the long run.
Sure, I would do honestly.